Good morning, YouTube friends. Well, I want to try to get a video up for you before we have a snowstorm coming in a couple of days, tomorrow night and Friday. This is Wednesday morning. So I want to get this done. We may lose electricity, which is not a happy thing because everything in our house is electric, all the heat and cooking and everything. So I don't know what we'll do about that. But I want to get this going first. And the first thing I want to share with you today is something I picked up at the printers this week. Adam and I drove to New Bern because I got an email saying that some cards were ready. Now I paint, as you know, I paint a lot of watercolor cards, individual cards. They're not prints, and I sell them at the farmers market and other places. And I've been doing that, and that's been wonderful. Every now and then people will ask if I make packs of prints. They don't want these individual cards. They'd rather buy a pack of prints. And so I started doing that, and I've done various ones. Let me show you. Well, I only have two here. My most popular one has been some violets, which I got some more made, and some poppies. The poppy painting was a commission I did. It was a bigger piece. I think it was like 11 by 17 or something like that. And it was commissioned by somebody out west in the Dakotas or something. I met her online, and she wanted some poppies. So I painted those for her, but I took a scan of it before I sent it off and kept the scan and had been making prints. And so I'm sure I'll have those two up there for you to see. I also painted these geraniums, which I liked a lot. And this is a pack of 5. So I have a few of those left. And then this is a card I painted for my daughter-in-law. This is back when I was doing all these layered flowers. That is so time consuming. It really is, but really beautiful. And that one turned out especially good, I think. Anyway, I had some of those made. All flowers so far, okay? And so I got more. Oh, here's the violets. I did those for a friend, an old friend, a dear friend. She's now passed away, but she especially liked those. And then here's the poppies. And I think I'm trying to see if I'm in front of the camera. There we go. I think this one turned out especially well because the original was so big, and I practiced a lot, and I took my time with it. And so it's just a very crisp image. My oldest brother and his wife also have a blueberry farm, and at one point I decided to work on blueberries, and I did some blueberries. So I had these blueberries printed off as well. And then another friend locally said, you should paint an octopus or lots of octopuses and sell those. And I thought, well, we live in a watery area of the world. Why not? I'll give it a try. So I did this octopus, and he turned out pretty cute. So I had some of those done. Let me show you too. I've been working on an octopus. I'm almost done with him. This is a larger one. On this one, this is a 9 by 12. You see, I did a background, and I put salt on it to give it that crackle look. And then I did the octopus. He turned out pretty well. I feel like, and I like it, and I did some splatter. I like it a lot. His eye could be bigger. Maybe. But I feel like there's just too much. I mean, it's supposed to be water, but there's a lot of open space, and so I think I'm thinking of doing some very faint, little teeny little fishes in here, maybe in kind of a goldy greeny color. I think a little bit of yellow might go in there. So there's a new one. I sell these larger pieces too. If anybody out there is interested in buying any of these, they are certainly for sale. I'll put my email down in the description, and if you want to email me, shoot me an email and say, oh, I'd like to have such and such. I accept PayPal payments, and I can ship it off to you. That's not any problem. I sell these in packs of 5 with matching envelopes. Here's the matching envelope. They're blank on the inside. But I mean, if you wanted 10 or I could sell as many as you like. So they're $2 a piece. Okay, so I'm going to open these. I really like my printer in New Bern. This was it's called Copy and Print Warehouse, and this is a company that was started by several ladies who were all friends, and they wanted to start a business together. So they started a printing business. Printing is historically a business run by men mostly, so they were kind of thought it was pretty cool to have women running a printing business. And they have always done good work for me. The first thing I had done, I need to get this box off of here. First thing I had done with them was I have some little books that I children's stories that I wrote, and then I painted the illustrations, and they could have been done in a better way. I liked writing the text on the page where the pictures were. Sometimes they were even overlapping. That was a really bad idea. Maybe I'll post some pictures of that in here and you can see how awful it was. The stories are cute though. The illustrations, it was when I was first painting, so they're not as good as my later painting, I think maybe. Anyway, these ladies printed those for me back in the day, and they were so patient with me. It was really hilarious. Let me pause for a second. I'll go get something to show you. So I went up there to get this book printed off. This is called The Thanksgiving Mice. It's a really cute story about a family of mice that live in the farmer and the farm wife's house, and they connive to steal the Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, and it's fun. But I took it in there, and it just had the mouse and the title, which is kind of plain. And I'm not real finicky about. I don't consider myself much of an artist, so I'm not really fussy about my stuff. And I wanted something a little brighter. Maybe they recommended I brighten it up. I don't remember. But I asked the girl behind the counter, I said, do you have an orange Sharpie? She said, no. I said, well, you'd have a highlighter. She said, well, I do have highlighters because it's a business, you know. They always are highlighting receipts and bills and stuff. So she pulled out, I think I've worked on it more since then, but she pulled out an orange highlighter and a yellow highlighter, and I just right there at the desk, I just did this kind of oval around it, which is rather imperfect, but it really did tie it together, I guess. Anyway, that was pretty hilarious. They were very, very accommodating. And then I started getting these cards done. So like and they have a beautiful sheen to them. I don't know if you can see that, but they're really lovely. I love the color of the paper. It's an off-white. It has just a very rich tone. So I take 4 of these. I can do a mix and match bag too if anybody wants. You can have them if you wanted them, or customers at the farmers market can do this as well. I'm happy to open up packages and shift them around to give them 3 blueberries and 2 octopus or whatever. So I get 5 of these, and you know, I ought to have I should have an online store. I don't. I mean, I have a Google album that I can share with people, and they can see all the cards that I have for sale. That works. I've sold a lot of cards that way over the years. And I have a Facebook page for my soaps, and I have a Facebook page for my art that I don't keep very up to date, but I don't have a shop. I'm rubbish, as the British say, at marketing and all that businessy side of it. I'm not any good at that. Okay, so you get 5 envelopes, and then a friend of mine who sells cards says it's very important to make sure that one of the cards is back behind, so that the little writing that you have there at the bottom shows, and then the card shows on the front. And then I have these little plastic sleeves that I order for my bigger cards, but they really work fine for this as well. And I'll just put them in there. This part of the business I enjoy, as long as it's not too much packaging, but I really like handling the stuff I've made and that's come in, especially like this. I really, really enjoyed that. So the packages end up looking like that. And yeah, I really like the blueberries. I wonder if other people will. I have no idea. I think just the what do they call it? The construction, the right word. Just the way that everything ended up on the page. It's well balanced. Okay, so there's the cards. The next thing I want to show you is the spinning I'm doing very briefly. I've come up with a new idea about my rolags, and I'll tell you about that here. The next video I'm going to do, I think, is going to catch you up to date on our dependency. That little house, I'm looking out a window right here. I'm looking straight at it. It's kind of an extra room and storage room that's across the yard and gives us a little bit more space, and we've still been working on it. It's kind of the renovation project that came before the barn project. Okay. Here's a little boy. Say hello, YouTube friends. Woof woof. Here's Stinky Dog. What you think out there? Hi, spinning friends. I had to turn off my space heater. It's another cold day in January, and I'm doing more spinning. And I took to heart the comments on a recent spinning post, a spinning vlog that I posted from a commenter who said that in order to avoid some of my frustrations with my carding, that I needed to, first of all, when I load my card, make sure that all the fibers stay well below this top edge. I was kind of loading some up there and getting an edge I didn't like. Also, to not overload my cards, I was putting too much fiber on them. And the last thing was that when I'm, especially because I'm not taking off any VM or anything, that when I transfer the fiber from one card to the other, to transfer all of it, not just part of it. Now, all of this flies in the face of the video that I watched, and if I can find it, I'll post it up there. I watched this lady do carding and just assumed that she was the be-all, end-all because she seemed pretty confident. But I've been frustrated with my rolags that I produce and with all of the pilling that's in there. So when I use her method. So I'm trying this. The other thing I'm trying, in order to achieve the color I want, the distinct, I don't want it all kind of lots of colors blended into a mud. Like if you're watercolor painting and you blend a lot of colors, you just get this muddy gray brown. I don't want that in my finished yarn skeins. I want lots of stripes of lots of different colors, not one overwhelming color. And so, and I do have lots of roving. Let me show you what I have still. This is my desk full of roving. Oh, I've got a little bit of chocolate down here in the drawer too. Here's a little, this is the chocolate. I've got this undyed. I've got this gorgeous midnight blue. Here's my daffodil. I have various pinks. I think this is a raspberry. All of this, I think, is from the spinnery store. And this is that mahogany that I adore, and I just can't get enough of it. So instead of trying to blend these on my cards and ending up with a muddy mess, instead of doing that, I'm going to make a rolag of primarily, like I just did one that was primarily the midnight blue with a little bit of this dark chocolate in there for a little bit of complexity. It's a smaller rolag, and so it looks like this. So a little bit, sorry if you couldn't see that because of all the light. Maybe if I put it over here. So what that should give me is a single ply that will have one section of this and one section of that. And then when I go back and ply it, I'll probably just do the thing off the wrist. And I discovered on a Facebook group, I asked, what is this crazy plying method that I learned from Kate Jackson? And a lady said it is Andean bracelet plying. Okay. And if you look it up online, there's various ways to wrap it around your fingers. I think my method is fairly simple, but it's called Andean, I guess for the Andes Mountains. I don't know, Andean bracelet plying. So that's what I'm going to be using. I like that. The only drawback of that bracelet plying is that it really does tie you to your wheel until you are done with that ball. You can't stop plying and go somewhere. I guess you could if you slipped it all the way off your hand, but it might be a mess. Anyway, so different colors. Let me see. I'm going to stand up. Try to block out that light. Here's that dark one I just did. Here's the only previous one that's primarily the mahogany. Here's some of the ones I did this morning when I decided I was sick of over blending. I guess I'll call that what I do is over blending. This one has some of the blue in there. So from now on, a lot of them are either going to be primarily yellow, maybe not all yellow, yellow with a little pink, and mahogany with a little blue, and the undyed, this grayish stuff, with a little bit of chocolate. So I'm just going to have a primary color and a little bit of secondary color in each rolag and see how that does as a finished skein. This is experimental spinning, but it can only get better. I don't think it can get worse. Can it get worse? Thanks for joining me. And this will be an ongoing video, I'm sure, until I get yet another skein done, and we'll see. We'll compare it to the last one, okay? Maybe I'll put a picture of that right here so you can see. So my card is loaded now. I've got 2 passes of yellow, a teeny little bit of this, is this cranberry or whatever kind of pink that is, some kind of a hot pink, and then just 1 pass of this pale pink, which is not the same as some of my other pink. This is really neat. It's got a little bit of almost a salmon, or that's just a different kind of pink. I really like this combination, so I'm going to card this off now. I'm about halfway through getting the fiber off of this first card that I loaded it onto. The other thing the commenter said was to go ahead and get all of the fiber off of the comb. Don't just do halves. Which is something I've been doing before. So I'm going to go ahead and get it all off of here and then take it off of this comb. I pulled off as much as I could from the first comb onto the second comb. There's always just a little bit left that I gently lift with my hand, and you just get a little bit of an edge here, but it's not really nearly so ugly as it used to be. So now I'm just going to very gently roll this up. And take it off onto the back of the other card. This just gives me a nice hard surface that the fiber won't stick to, like it might stick to my pants, or it would certainly stick to the tines of the other comb, of the other card. So now I can roll it up, and I'm going to use both hands to do that. But I really like these rolags so much better. And it's time for me to put a yellow one on because I don't have any visible yellow recently. So here's the last 3 I have. This is why I had to do a yellow one, because I've got one of those grays. That's kind of my least favorite. They're just for contrast, I guess, because it is lighter. These are a lot of the mahogany here, and you see how purple it looks when you put it with a little bit of that hot pink, which I did. I used the hot pink and some of the blue. It really makes it look more purple. It's like blending colors when you paint. So I'm going to get a couple more yellow ones and a couple more of those dark chocolate brown ones, and we'll keep on going. This is just a quick little segment to show you that with some practice, from good advice from one of my commenters and some practice following her advice, I have gotten some better rolags. I've taken this one off the cards. I haven't rolled it up yet, But I want you to see how I don't have any portions of it that have those nasty edges I was talking about. It's all straight and loose. This end up here is gently rounded over, but none of it is going to give me any pilling. I'm very excited. Thanks so much for that good advice. Hello, Leo. How are you doing? Leo had his little boy surgery yesterday, so he's not quite himself today. Not very hungry. He ate a lot yesterday, but he's a little off his food today. Yeah. He is sitting in his favorite window, which is right by my spinning wheel. And I wanted to show you, I'm almost to the end of this. This is pretty full over here on this end. I don't want to get it much fuller than that. This one, I have about another rolag or maybe 2 to go. I think you can really see now how I have a little bit of the gray. I also have a dark blue. I also have the yellow, and you see how that's a yellow and pink together. Each one has a primary color, but it also has some secondary stuff going on in there. Okay, and there's also a dark brown. Maybe that's the dark brown, and that's the gray. There's a blue, a dark brown. Then there's this burgundy, the yellow, and the gray, and I try to alternate them, and I have no idea what this is going to look like when I apply it. I hope it looks okay, but I did see somebody else doing something similar. Let me show you the next one I'm going to do. I saw somebody on Facebook doing something similar with a rolag that was like sections of color. So it would have this, it would have a yellow, and it would have a white, and then it would have an orange, and it was a kind of a color theme, but I'm hoping that mine will do the same thing. So I haven't had one that's primarily this hot pink or cranberry, but I think I'm going to do one rolag out of that next. And I'm going to blend it with some lighter pink and maybe just a little bit of maybe the brown or this stuff, this blue. I would love to get about a pound of that blue and just spin it forever. It is easier to spin, longer staple, straighter. It doesn't wad up and give you pills and stuff. It's just beautiful. Okay, I've got about 2 more rolags to make. Then I'm going to finish that off. Then I'm going to take it off of the wheel onto an Andean bracelet. I'll show you what that looks like a little bit. All right, this is the new true Andean plying method that I'm learning from this video, but boy, this girl goes too fast. I had to make her slow down. Okay, so you tie the end of your single around your finger, and I'm going to keep my hand this way so that it's easy to see, okay? And then you go across the back of your hand so that it comes here, And then you're going to loop it around your middle finger like that. Okay? And then go around the back of your hand and loop it around your middle finger again. Okay, now when she does it, when she loops around, when she starts from either side and comes toward her middle finger, she crosses in front of the middle finger and comes around this way. Okay, so like from this side, she does that. From this side, she does that. Okay, now why this is better than the other method, I'm not quite sure. I asked my husband if there was any benefit scientifically to doing this, this almost, I guess, a figure eight, I think is what they call it, in the middle. And he said it might have an effect on the twist because you're putting another turn into it. I'm not really sure. There was some criticism of the other method, and a video was linked on YouTube that I found really ridiculous, where the woman decided she was going to talk science, and she stuck a pair of stupid glasses on her face for pretend and said, "We're going to do science." And then she told me with some toilet paper demonstration that the method that I was using before would affect the yarn's twist negatively because of something she called radial velocity phenomenon. I asked my husband, who teaches science, about that, and he said that was a bunch of hooey, that radial velocity has nothing to do with pulling yarn or toilet paper out of the center core. So anyway, the other method works fine. I'm trying this more out of a sense of just interest. Okay, so I hope you can see what's going on. Really, I'm just looping it like that, coming around the back, looping it like that. This is a long loop. Okay, you're really making it like a small skein almost, with this thing in the middle. And then what this girl says you do is when you get it all done, you slip it off your middle finger and you'll have this funny little loopy knot thing here, not really a knot. And she takes that, instead of holding it here when she plies, she puts it around the back of her hand so that both pieces feed off the same way. So we'll see what we think about that. That might make it feed off of the wrist more easily, and that would be nice because I really had to flip my hand around. Okay, I'm going to do all this and then I'll come back to you. Now this is what it's looking like about halfway through. Okay, I decided to include this finger also in the bump over because it was more comfortable that way, and so I'm leaving these two out. I can't say that it's a real comfortable arrangement for the fingers, but it's not too bad. I understand why you wouldn't want to do it with a very large ball. That might be really uncomfortable. Okay, I went ahead and cut it off about halfway done because it is fairly uncomfortable. Anyway, and so I'm going to go ahead and get this plied and get it off my hand. Okay, so I've slipped it off my finger. It's a little uncomfortable there at that joint. It was just bent over too much. And you see this wad again, much like what I had before. And she said to move it to the back. I've got these two ends tied to my leader. Now let's see how this does. Let me get the knot centered. And we will go to the left. Oh, it does come off the wrist, I think, better this way. But I don't know why I couldn't perhaps arrange it so that I could do the other in that way too. I have to keep an eye on the twisties, the pigtails. think it's more manageable here with this wrist. If you can see it, comes off like that. It just comes off easier than it does with the other method. And I'm liking the look of this. I think the dark rolags are going to give a good balance to those gray ones that are really kind of filler. Didn't intend for them to be gray. I'm not really sure how they turned out gray. I don't have any gray roving, but sometimes when you put various colors together, that's what you get. Okay, well, I'm going to spin this up. You don't have to watch all this, and then we'll look at it once I get it off the bobbin. I want to make the point here. I'm holding the camera with one hand, so I'm sorry this may be an imperfect view. I want to make the point of how these two singles are being fed off my wrist. One of the arguments against any kind of bracelet plying like this was that the singles were being fed kind of from a center pull, and that one would feed differently than the other, and that you would have this more twist in the one coming out of the middle than you do the one on the outside edge, which is this gray one. I'm really not finding that to be true. They're both feeding in the same direction, okay? They both are technically feeding kind of not horizontally away from the ball, if you could call that a ball. It's really more of a, they call that a cake. And they're both feeding kind of out of the top of it, but I have it turned sideways. Which, according to the toilet paper lady, was supposed to be better. So I don't see any difficulty with this. This is actually a true Andean spinning and plying method. I read an article, if I can find it, I'll try to put it in the description below, of a woman whose parents were experts in textiles, ancient textiles, and they went and lived in Peru, and they studied all of these methods, and she said she remembers watching the women walk around, and they would use a drop spindle, and then they would ply using this method because it was so portable. You can just do it right there on your wrist. So if it's that ancient and used by the Peruvian spinners and weavers, I don't think that we can have any criticism of it. So this is what it looks like. There's the wad on the back. That's where the figure 8 is. But it's feeding off really very easily, easier than the last one that I did. So here's that half of the singles back on the bobbin again after it's been plied. It's looking like what I wanted it to. Mostly dark with good splatters of yellow and pink. Well, it's now evening, and I've just finished steaming and thwacking this new skein, and I wanted to just catch you up on the compare and contrast between the previous skein I made, where I did Kate Jackson's wrist, her bracelet plying, and I kind of over blended on the cards, okay, and kind of blended everything a lot the same. And then this new skein where I did the Andean wrist plying, and where I did, I guess I would call it color blocking. I did rolags in color blocks. So let me show you how this turned out. Now this is the very same roving, okay? I didn't put any green in this one. I really didn't like the specks of green. But even without that, you can see that so much of this ended up just being kind of beigey, gray, very gray. It's beautiful. I like it and I'll use it. But this is really more what I'm looking for. Now I haven't, this is still a little bit damp and it still has these strings on it. But I hope you can see the richness of the color. And it's hard to believe that the very same mahogany is in both of them. This also has some of that undyed. The very same yellow, that's the very same yellow. But look how differently it behaves depending on what it's with. Isn't that interesting? Um, so I'm going to definitely be doing more of this. I don't know what I'm going to make with this. I might weave with it. I think that would be very fun. I've never woven with any of my hand spun, but I'm going to be. I've only done half of the bobbin of this, as you recall, because my hand got really crampy with that Andean plying. So I'm pretty tickled. I think this is really beautiful.